if you give them the same number of calories of fat, carbohydrate, and protein, the animals that got protein will eat less in an ad libitum meal later on, in a
Hmm.
kind of short-term thing. The protein is supposed to be more satiating, and it drives a different milieu of gut hormones produced in response to a meal. And that there's also, building on that, some evidence that high protein diets also suppress food intake long term. So I think the evidence that high protein diets or a protein preload suppresses food intake in the short term is very strong. It is definitely the most satiating nutrient. Whether a high protein diet in the longer term suppresses food intake is a little bit weaker, but there's definitely data to support that, particularly in the context of calorie restriction. So a lot of the weight loss studies have focused on high protein, low calorie foods. So the goal is to reduce the calorie intake, but try to maintain protein intake. And that's because, in part, that one of the risks of calorie restriction and weight loss is a loss of lean mass.
Hmm. Hmm.
We want to have, it's not just the amount of weight loss, it's the quality of that weight loss, if you say. And so what you want to try to maximize is the loss of adiposity, and you want to minimize the loss of muscle mass or fat-free mass. And so there's really good evidence that in the context of weight loss and a low calorie diet, that a low calorie, high protein diet is good in those ways. It's both satiating and it helps to maintain muscle mass or maintain lean mass while weight is lost. So in that world, again, protein is good for you, whereas in the aging world, protein is kind of bad for you because it shortens your lifespan. And then there's another related world, which is sort of physical performance, bodybuilding,
Right, right.
strength, athletic performance. And in that world, protein is also very good for you. Bodybuilders, they have to consume protein in order to gain muscle mass. Athletes want to eat a lot of protein in order to be athletically performance. That whole world as well. And
Right.
in that world, I think it's interesting. Go ahead if you have
Oh, no, I was just
want
gonna say this. This is another good illustration of like when we talk about is protein good or bad, or
right.
it has to be with respect to some endpoint that we care about. Like, are you talking about overcoming the obesity you already have because that's what you already have, and that's probably your biggest problem and your biggest inhibitor to living longer, or are you trying to live to be as long as humanly possible, or are you a high performance athlete? Like all of these things are different
That's exactly right.
contexts, and depending on the individual and which context and endpoint
Right.
they care about the most, the answer is going to come out differently.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think therein somewhat lies the problem. So to kind of, there's aging and age-related sarcopenia, some evidence that high protein diets are beneficial for age-related sarcopenia and maintaining muscle mass with age. And interesting, there's some interesting evidence that this is both protein restriction and weight loss. That weight loss is good for you in middle age, but weight loss is not good for you at old ages.
Right,
Because
right.
it's when you're 80, you don't want to be dieting. You want to try to maintain, even if you're overweight, you want to maintain that overweight because it provides resilience and protects against frailty and things. And I think there's evidence the same thing for protein restriction, that maybe protein restriction is good in middle age, maybe not be good at old ages.
Yeah.
And so I often use this kind of example that, if your model system are young, male, physically active performance athletes who are burning 4,000 calories, the middle linebacker on the football team, right, who burns 4,000 calories a day, bench presses 400 pounds, is burning both protein and calorie. Yeah, a protein supplement might be really good for you. But if you are a middle-aged, sedentary, non-resistance training, is that same nutrition going to be good for you?